Well, as if you didn't know, you have Hit and H Unscripted, you lucky, lucky listeners. I'm Ray Dudley. Got my Nehru jacket on now, all freshly pressed after Andrew wore it on my time off. But thank you, Andrew, for covering for me, baby. I appreciate that. Got my bell-bottom pants on. Your job. Kick back on the waterbed. Light those incense and get the lava lamp going. Break out those transistor radios because we are coming in hot again today. 1450 AM, 103.9 FM in Kankakee, 101.9 FM for the beautiful souls in Manchester. And you can find us on the interwebs at nhtalkradio.com. Let me tell you, there's so much going on here at the station. So much going on. If you had, before this show comes on every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 9 a.m. But there's a lot of stuff going on around this show. You ought to check it out. Ken Kale in the morning. Ken and Andrew just bumping gums there, 7 to 8. And then Ken does his thing from 8 to 9. So much more going on. We are celebrating 80 years of community radio. It's a long time for anything. Well, I have a friend back in the studio today. I've been meaning to talk with her for quite a while. I'm glad she's made it. Leslie Pasternack, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing really well.
Thank you for coming back out.
Yeah.
So much I want to talk to you about. First of all, for folks who don't know you, I have a full sheet here of your resume, but give us some background. Where you coming from? What have you done? You know, what's going on in your life?
Yeah, I'm a theater artist based in Durham, over there on the seacoast. And after a career teaching in higher education, theater history, and acting, I had the privilege to strike out on my own back home in my home turf in New Hampshire. And I do a lot of directing and acting in the community, but also in the last couple of years, I've been so fortunate to settle into a niche over at Players Ring Theater in Portsmouth under the leadership of Margarita Jacoby. I am the director of new play development there. Their program is called Ringworks. So you will see me acting and directing sometimes as part of the main stage season, but I also am mentoring some plays that aren't quite ready for main stage but have a lot of promise. We select 2 playwrights a season for me to work on revisions and bring the play up to be all it can be. And then we do some really lovely staged readings, and there are a series of feedback opportunities for the Ring audiences to talk to the playwright and give feedback. So
nice. That's really nice.
Yeah, and also as another hat that I wear that is fun as part of the Ringworks development program is I lead most of the talkbacks after the first Sunday matinee for all of the main stage shows. Margarita likes to wind me up and point me at the audience to facilitate those conversations, and it's super fun.
Yeah.
I mean, facilitating for things like Waiting for Godot last fall was just so exciting to hear.
That was a great play.
What people
Great
have to
production.
say about it.
I
Yeah,
loved it.
but sometimes I'm actually in a show, so I get to sit back and let someone else take the reins, and that's fun.
Great segue. Oh,
Yeah.
man, you're dropping breadcrumbs for me here. I wanted to ask, as I was looking at the resume, and you mentioned it, that you were teaching, you had taught. You taught theater?
I did. I taught theater history and dramatic criticism and acting for years, first at University of Texas at Austin while I was getting my degree, and then at Northeastern University, and then Muhlenberg College. And I really loved doing that. I loved working with that age group. I loved, I would get to direct a bit, and it was marvelous. But while I was doing all those things, my mom fell ill, and I had the enormous privilege to be able to step away from that particular gerbil wheel of being in academia to care for my mom back here on the seacoast. And that was when I discovered that, there really were a lot of exciting artist colleagues like yourself. I mean, I sometimes talk about that shift as a door closed but a window opened. And I just climbed through the window because I've been able to work with fantastic folks at not only at the Players Ring, but at Theater Kapow and New Hampshire Theater Project, the Firehouse Center for the Arts in Newburyport. And I also do a lot of one-on-one acting coaching and consulting on new play development.
Are you busy doing that, by the way?
I am. In the last year, I've had, I think, 14 playwrights that I've worked with in the last 12 months.
What?
And so they range from absolute newbies to people who are, revisiting a script and bringing it to the next level to submit at regional theaters. And I absolutely adore that. So I do that through my own company, Lemon Punch Theater Lab, which I also have a small studio in Durham. Yeah. But a lot of what I do is on Zoom because it facilitates collaboration with writers really, really well.
So what are a lot of them looking for? Just feedback on where they are currently with the writing?
Yeah,
or they just need to hear it?
Yeah, sometimes people have a nugget of an idea that needs to be built out. Sometimes they have a script that just isn't catching fire when they're submitting it. And so they need an outside eye to ask them questions about, what are you trying to say here? You sort of, where's the focus? I got very interested in this character and then they sort of dropped out and I don't understand their arc. I'm very good at little niggling things, but also the larger questions. And my focus is really help you write the play you want to write.
Yeah.
I'm not looking to see it, have my fingerprints on it.
Does that make you like part psychologist? Do you have to get into their mind about what they're trying to accomplish and say?
Yes, in a different way, but not unrelated to working with actors in the rehearsal room or teaching acting and helping people understand the difference between just throwing an emotion out there or performing a strong action. And I have found the more that I act and direct, the more feedback I have to give my playwrights, because I can really say to them, okay, when this moment of the play arrives in the rehearsal room, the director and the actors are going to go, huh? And these are the kinds of questions they're going to ask. This is what they're going to need to know. So this is actually
That's really good.
A segue a little bit into talking about the play that I have that just opened last weekend at Enid's Mill at the Players Ring, which I directed. It's called Enid's Mill by Martha Douglas Osmondson. I started working with her, dramaturging for her, so being a playwriting consultant on the structure of her play in November of 2020. Written? She's from Providence.
Okay.
And we met during the lockdown when all the theater artists and musicians and everyone were like, how do we keep our love alive? How do we do our...
I remember it well.
So I pivoted onto Zoom really hard, and I was producing short play festivals all on Zoom and got to meet a whole bunch of people from beyond, my in-person life, including this whole group of playwrights down in Providence. So Martha had this delicious play that was just a few scattered scenes, and over several online playwriting classes that I did and readings that I held so that people could give her feedback, it's developed into a full length, which was submitted last year to the Ring with myself as director. And now it's here.
It's getting great praise.
It's getting really great praise.
A lot. And I want to talk to you about it, but I just want to back up.
Okay.
God, I'm so intrigued. We haven't talked in so long. So, dang it, I have so much to ask you. First of all, this Ringworks thing. How long have you been doing that out there at the Ring?
I have just finished my second year of it, and we're now in planning for the third season. So the first season we did one, Sisterhood of the Survivors, and this last year we did two, Will Sax's Beast of Eden and Doug Brendel's Things Get Ugly. And what's interesting about Doug Brendel's piece, Things Get Ugly, is that he is self-producing it at the Firehouse Theater in May. And so he really was able to use this development process to shape it up so that it would be ready to go in front of full audiences in a full production. So we have finished selecting but have not yet announced the two playwrights that I'll be working with for the upcoming season of Ringworks.
How much time do you spend with them?
I always have to control myself because I will go down a rabbit hole and spend more time than I probably should. But I have a meeting with them to talk about our first impressions from the whole reading committee of the play.
Yeah.
Then I go in and I do a series of notes and have a one-on-one discussion with them of first revision. Then they revise. We gather together and have a Zoom conversation online with a group of audience members that anybody can join called the Ring Readers. And we had so many Ring Readers for the last round of this that we had 2 sessions of it. It was intense. Wow. And then Margarita and I talked to the playwright after the Ring Readers' feedback to make sure they're not being overwhelmed and sort of parse out the most actionable things. They do a second revision. They give it to me. I cast it. I direct it. And we have 3 or 4 rehearsals. We add some tech. And then we have a staged reading. So it's actually a pretty intense process. They get a lot of value for it.
Yeah, it sounds like it. All right, hang on. You hear
that music?
It is indeed. You are listening to NH Unscripted. We are coming to you from the YMCA-like digs of the WKXL studios in Concord. I can smell the pool chlorine all the way over here. 1450 AM, 103.9 FM on your Sony Walkmans in Concord. NHTalkRadio.com is our URL. Leslie, I got ready to talk about Enid's Mill, but I'm going to mine some more stuff. Okay. I will be right back.
Okay.
Welcome back to NH Unscripted. I'm so happy to be out of bed today. We are coming to you from the Hollywood Square-like digs of WKXL Studios in Concord, where I love to sit in that center square. 101.9 FM on those transistor radios for you beautiful, beautiful folks in Manchester. NHTalkRadio.com is our URL. By the way, just so everyone knows, you can get up all of the programming here at WKXL can be found out SoundCloud, streaming. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. You don't have to just have your Sony Walkman with you. I'm telling you, you can do it. All right. Leslie Pasternack, I want to talk to you so much, but let's just get into all right.
I wish you all could see him. He's giggling and laughing, and he can't express himself.
There's so
go
much,
for it.
There's so much. I saw The Man Who Laughs.
Yes, at the Players Ring last fall.
For folks who don't go to the Players Ring, shame on you. Look, go out there. Go to Portsmouth. Take your wife, your girlfriend, take them both. I don't care. Go see a show out at the Players Ring. You're missing it. You're missing it. It's a hidden gem out there. Although when you get there, you see all the people in there. You know it's really hidden out there. But anyway. The Man Who Laughs, It was unbelievable. As an audience member, it was captivating, it was innovative, it was cutting edge, it was brilliant, compact, concise, but just beautiful. As someone who was involved in it, tell me about the process and what it was like. Were you folks nervous when you were going to put it on? Because what you were doing was not easy.
Well, a little bit of context. First of all, The Man Who Laughs was an original devised piece, meaning it was built collaboratively by the ensemble, and it's an adaptation of a 1920s era black and white film that gave us the character that the Joker is based on. And it's based originally on a Victor Hugo novel about a little boy whose face has a smile carved into it because of evil king versus ordinary prince, blah, 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 blah. And his whole journey basically to self-acceptance is kind of a body positivity story.
Good point.
The woman he loves convinces him that she loves him despite his deformity. So the other thing in terms of context is I was called by Margarita Jacobi 3 weeks before it opened because an actor had to drop out because of a terrible medical emergency in the family. So Margarita was like, do you happen to be free? And somehow it was the one gap that I had where I was going to relax and regroup in between projects. And I said, sure. I'll turn my life upside down to walk in and help you build almost from scratch because suddenly I was replacing a lovely, beautiful, very tall ballet dancer, and I am a short, older, bespectacled, trained clown, but just a different demographic. And so I walked in and
it's
suddenly...
It's a perfect match.
Perfect match. And everyone in the show, there were 4 people originally, and then we realized that week we need to add a 5th. who were playing multiple roles.
Mm-hmm.
And so with the addition of a new actor, they had to reorganize all of the roles. The most genius thing about this was that Ben Bagley became the villain, which he was not supposed to be the villain.
Really?
The woman I replaced was the villain. And I walk in there, little me. Well, who do I end up being? Who's my home base character? I was Homo the wolf dog.
She's
yes,
not kidding.
you heard that.
She's
And
not
what's
kidding.
so adorable about this production is that Ben was also the technical director for The Ring in general and for this show. And it was decided that we should, of course, have titles. We should have video screens with titles for certain
Brilliant.
things.
Absolutely brilliant.
One reason why this movie was chosen to be adapted is it actually is very expressionistic. It uses a lot of movement and visuals and not a lot of language. So there's not a lot of she says this, he says that on the screen. So very few titles, but what was there was really important. And Ben decided at the beginning we had this beautiful, originally composed score for our piece. And while it was playing, everyone got to see credits at the beginning in this old-fashioned font, just like a silent movie. So we would be backstage ready to start, and among the credits, it would have everybody's character name and the name of the actor. And we always knew when mine was coming up because you would hear giggles, and you would always hear some guy in the audience who would see Homo the wolf dog. Some guy in the audience, every performance would go, Homo. I was like, they're going to be shocked and possibly disappointed when a 50-something-year-old woman comes out to play this dog. But it was an absolute hoot. And I will also say Homo was the only one really who had lines. It was decided that Homo didn't realize that he was in a silent film. So I could bark and whine and whimper. And that was actually helpful from a storytelling point of view sometimes to guide some things. Were we terrified? Absolutely. I think we realized after like the third performance, we really had something and it was going to be okay. We had some wonderful outside eyes. You don't always have a single director when you are devising, but you need trusted collaborators to come in and be an outside eye. And so we had some of those, and just astonishingly amazing designers helping us create this black and white world. And we had lots of costume changes that were happening in the lobby and upstairs, so we could become different characters. And I got to be a roustabout, carnival worker who was kind of hitting on the girls. I got to be the queen at the end, which was very, very fun. But I just kept coming back to being this wolf dog. And how did we play that? A design decision had been made before I came on that I was holding in my right hand a mask of a wolf's face. And then I would use the rest of my body and my facial expressions to create the dog's reactions. And I got to tell you, by the 14th performance of this across 3 weeks, I was feeling it in my knees quite a lot. But it was joyful. It was really joyful. And
what a cast.
Yes.
So strong.
Really strong
So
cast.
wonderful to watch them.
Yeah.
And it was, you mentioned a couple of things which, people, I don't know if people caught it. You mentioned it was silent film, based on silent film. And it was silent. There was only, I think, 2 lines, in the beginning and the end. Yeah.
It was actually one line repeated.
Yes, that's right. That's right. And black and white.
Yes.
You mentioned black and white. And I don't know if people who haven't seen it understand those two concepts. To do a play with no dialogue, with no speaking, for, what was it, a little over an hour? Yeah. And try to do it in black and white like an old talkie. I don't know who came up with that concept, but it was absolutely beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. The cast was gone.
It was Emily Carell and Wayne, I want to say Asbury.
Yeah.
Wayne Asbury. The two of them, it was their brainchild. And then bringing Ben Bagley on board was key because of him being also the linchpin of the technical crew of the staff at the Ring. And then I was brought on, and Kevin Berenger was just absolutely amazing. Came on where they realized we can't do this with 4, we need the 5. And it was just we were so bonded, and you were out there working like a machine, a whimsical machine.
Yeah. It's funny. It was such a masterclass in minimalism too.
Because everything shows.
Yes.
Very, very
and
little
there wasn't much
set,
there to...
Very little set. So
Yeah.
every time we move our finger or you change your posture, you change your facial expression.
Yeah.
There was one sequence
Wayne.
where there was a shipwreck, and then Wayne is washed ashore, and he's walking through an environment where some of us were hanging from the trees.
Yeah.
And all that was is we scrambled up as fast as we could on rehearsal blocks. We had nooses around our necks that didn't lead anywhere, just with short pieces of rope. And then we had to get up on our tippy toes and sort of swivel in the breeze like it was creaking, and we were just swiveling with our heads slack.
Those little things that
And
make it.
the lighting was just absolutely sculptural.
Yep. Yes, it was just a wonderful. Folks, really got to go to the Players Ring. You have to go. It's just so, I don't know how you can go see a play in a big theater, 500 people, but 90 people at most, maybe it seats. You're right there. Nobody has to yell. Nobody has to try to hit the back wall with their voice. You catch every breath, every eye movement. It's wonderful from an audience
And
perspective.
as an audience member, you feel, for better or for worse, you're helping carry the show. You're holding it in your hand.
Yeah,
You're part of it.
except now when I was holding my breath the whole time. It was crazy. All right, got to pay some bills. Got to take a break here for a minute. You are listening to NH Unscripted. We're coming to you from the dating game like digs of the WKXL studios in Conkey. 1450 AM, 103.9 FM on those transistor radios. Yeah, baby. Leslie Pasternack is in the house. I'm so happy today. We will be right back. Welcome back to NH Unscripted. I hope you're having as much fun as Leslie and I are. Man, oh man, we are coming to you from the Car 54 like digs of the WKXL studios in Concord. Yeah, baby, 101.9 FM for you beautiful, beautiful souls in Manchester. Gosh, we appreciate you. Just a reminder, this show comes to you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday morning at 9 a.m. Monday is our way back machine music. Yeah, trying to give you a few memories, maybe create a few, maybe bring some back. Yeah, for oldies music. Loving it. Leslie Pasternack's in the house. Leslie, let's talk about Enid's Mill.
Yes, please.
I know there's... tell us about it, and then I have some questions about some of the controversial part, the disability.
Sure,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Please.
So Enid's Mill is a beautiful full-length play, nice and tight, but it is a full length with an intermission in the middle, and it's running just about 2 hours, including the intermission, 2 hours and 5 maybe. Written by Martha Douglas Osmondson from Providence, and it weaves together a lot of stories from her youth. It's set in 1979. And it isn't strictly autobiographical. She stitches it in a very clever way into some fictional things. She gives herself some freedom. But in the middle of a storm, way upstate New York, near the Canadian border, January 1979, a young woman comes home for the first time in 10 years because there's been an accident. Some people have died, and secrets come out. One of the people that she had left behind was her dear, beloved sister, who was actually a couple years older than her, Enid. But Enid is developmentally and physically disabled in a variety of ways. And the Enid character is based very closely on Martha's brother, Robert. And both of them are in their 60s, and they live in Providence.
In the play?
No.
Oh,
life.
real?
Yep.
Oh,
in
okay.
Real life.
Okay.
And Robert has been living close to Martha, and she's very involved in his caregiving, but he's been in a group home for a long time. And I just raised this point, not to invade Robert's privacy, but to say that this is written from the point of view of deep lived knowledge and experience in how caregiving and services and realities around disabled family members have changed so much from the 60s to the 70s.
Can you
through to
expand on
now.
that a little?
Well, things like what is in the play is set in 1979. And there's a moment where a young character played by Sam Griffin, whom you might know from Theater Kapow, is fretting and saying, I feel so awkward. What words do I use to talk about people like Enid? And so there's a little discussion about, terms change and our understanding of it changes. One of the things that's very interesting about Enid is that some people might look at some of her symptoms and describe her today as being autistic. But she also has a lot of physical issues. She has a seizure disorder. And these things...
Is that like epilepsy? Because that border on that there?
Yes. Yeah. But the thing about these kinds of conditions is that they're not static. You're not one thing. It's not like you're Sheldon on the Big Bang Theory and you're always the same. As you move forward through life, whether you're disabled or you begin your life perfectly abled, we encounter challenges and we change and we have to adapt to that. And caregiving around us has to change. So Martha wanted and she will tell you one of her goals is for everyone to fall in love with Enid. She is a very specific, very smart, talented, artistic character, despite the fact that she has limitations in what she's going to be able to do in life. And in fact, Enid paints, and our set is decorated, I get a little verklempt, with paintings that Martha's brother Robert has been doing for decades. Yes, in a studio that is in Providence that serves the artistic needs of a variety of differently abled people and helps them sell their art online.
Wow.
And they are just lovely. So there's that issue. There is also, I don't want to give too much stuff away, but the play also deals with sexual assault.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep. So, but it is full of humor as well. One of the things I love about Martha's writing is she captures voices of characters so well, and she captures the rhythm of life where most people have some kind of sense of humor, and most people find other people interesting and sometimes funny in different ways. And sometimes when we see dramas that deal with heavy issues, there is not a single smile or bit of laughter or light or joy or color in the whole thing.
So
it wants to just signal we're talking about the very serious issue. Yeah. This, in early drafts of it, we had to watch out for making sure it didn't get sitcom-y in any way. Because Martha just has such a great sense of humor that there's just laughs constantly.
You had to bring her in back from the opposite end of being overly serious.
Sometimes I wouldn't say I had to rein her in. Martha also has been teaching English and drama for most of her career. She's a very, very smart woman and a very lively person with so many different interests. So she's aware, but of the things that we'd be juggling, that she came into it with me like, I have all these serious things to say, but I want to keep them lively. I like a sense of humor. I want some of the characters to be really snappy and quippy. And the play also is realism, and Margarita has committed to this. Margarita Jacobi, the executive director.
We love Margarita.
This set will bring you back to 1979. There are literally over 100 props to look at, including food. You got your quiche. You got your cinnamon rolls. Your pink Canada mints. You got everything on this set. So it's a lot. A shout out to Catherine Davis, who is our stage manager and our props manager for this. It's a beast. So people are, what Margarita said, and I think she's right, is there are a lot of other shows like The Man Who Laughs, like The 12th Night that went up last month, that are very minimalist and work very well in the space. But Margarita said the audiences will be starving. They will be thirsting for the visual detail. And so, again, I have Ben Bagley as our sound designer, and we also have a lot of sound cues and important things happening.
Of things from the 70s?
Yes. And be ready with those flare pants and your rhinestones, because we also are going to have some music for you to listen to.
Touching my heart.
Yeah.
You guys should have any food that she makes on stage. You should sell it intermission. And...
Totally should, except that doesn't fit the budget.
All
So,
right.
Yeah.
So I saw photos of them working on the set. They hadn't said anything about the paintings.
Yeah.
But the set looked gorgeous.
Yeah.
And for folks who don't know, it's not a big area. The stage area at the Ring is not huge. But
Right.
it's very intimate, so I can imagine building a kitchen. It's a kitchen, right?
Yes, it's a kitchen set. So the way the Ring works is that the staging area is what we call on the floor, with the seating being in risers that are very close by. And also it has flexible staging that can be in, it used to always just be in 3/4. Now sometimes they'll put a fourth. For ours, we took one side out so that we've got two sides that create the nook that are the kitchen and the living room.
Yep.
What this does mean is we have to pack everyone, and we're fitting, I think, 74 seats into the other two sides, which means that we have folks on the floor whose feet are, inside the space. But many, many years ago, I started acting at the Ring, and it's just part of what you do that you get used to very carefully and politely stepping over people's feet. Yeah. And the occasional very welcome service animal who's extremely polite, and you sort of get set in your mind when you come on stage. We let everyone know there's a service animal tonight, and you just, you make sure you're not stepping on anyone. And that's always kind of fun to see when the show starts and people in the front realize, and they're like, oh, I'm going to be really part of this.
Yeah, it's one of the things that really I love about the Ring. Yeah. I love the intimacy of it. I really do.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, audiences are just really, really loving this. It takes you on a huge, huge emotional ride. And there's a real big cliffhanger at intermission, and people have been flooding out and saying, "Oh my gosh, I've already had all the feels. What are we going to learn?" I had a woman corner me and say, "Are we going to find out such and such and so and so? Because I really need to know." And I was like, "Yes, you will find out. Second act is shorter, so you'll find out soon. So get yourself some nice peanut M&Ms, and you can head back in, and you'll get the end." And people are sending Margarita messages with very specific feedback and saying, we love this, we had questions about this. And people over and over are saying of our actor who plays Enid, her name is Ellie Burke, a delightful young woman. They couldn't take eyes off her. They were riveted. That in the talk back, someone said, "That was exactly my nephew. That's who that is." So we can talk more about that, as you said, the potential controversy of that.
Yeah. We're getting close to the end here. We got to dig fast.
We got to pick it up.
You are listening to NH Unscripted. I know you're as happy as I am. We are coming to you from the not-so-overly ostentatious digs of the WKXL studios in Concord, 1450 AM, 103.9 FM on those transistor radios. The poor kids got the 8 transistors. Us rich kids got the 16. NHTalkRadio.com is our URL. Leslie Pasternack is in the house, treating us, of course, as always. We will be right back. Welcome back to NH Unscripted. Man, this is better than winning the lottery. We're coming to you from the Petticoat Junction-like digs of the WKXL studios in Concord. 101.9 FM for those beautiful souls in Manchester. Good gracious, we love you folks down there. NHTalkRadio.com is our URL. Leslie Pasternack is in the house, and we are talking about a play out there at the Players Ring in Portsmouth called Enid's Mill.
And it's running through March 22nd.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, give us some URLs and stuff too. Yeah,
absolutely. You can go to playersring.org for all of the information about our current show. And we've had one weekend of performances, and so performances run March 12th through 22nd, Thursdays at 7 p.m., Fridays and Saturday nights at 7:30, and then we have matinees on Saturday and Sunday afternoons at 2:30.
and they sell out. I was going to go last Sunday, sold out. So, folks, get your tickets.
We do have some room left in our performances, and we'd love to see you.
Yeah. Good. Leslie, I want to talk to you about the issue of a non-disabled person playing a disabled person. Have you gotten any pushback on that, and how are we folks addressing that?
Well, it's very interesting. Martha Douglas Osmondson, the playwright, she did have a staged reading of this play before submitting it as part of the process down at the Wilbury in Providence. And the question came up there, and the question was on her mind from the early days of writing it. In an ideal universe, you want to cast people, whether it's around disability or it's around ethnicity, gender, etc. This has been an issue since the late 20th century. Remember then? Of people talking about, colorblind casting, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. And it's wonderful in theory, but when you have a particular role in front of you and you're trying to figure out how to match with an actor who can do everything that the role requires and represent that group, and then you look at the pool of actors you have available, it gets trickier. Yeah. In the case of Martha's play, one of the things from the very moment that Margarita Jacobi and her board and staff offered us the slot in the season, we discussed the issue of how are we going to cast Enid. Yes. Enid has an interesting and very specific constellation of disabilities. Enid also has to perform a lot of different interesting things in the play, and the actor playing her has to function at a really high level of physical mobility as well as cognitive capacity, etc. So we realized it would be literally impossible for us to cast someone who had the same disabilities as Enid to do what we needed them to do. So then the question became, should we, in our call for auditions, should we reach out and say we're looking for people with different levels of disability to come, particularly cognitive, developmental disability, what we call neurodiversity? Should we be reaching out for that in the call? And we talked about this quite a bit. And then all of a sudden, the dime sort of dropped for me. And I said, you know what, Margarita? I bet we've been casting people who are neurodivergent all along and didn't know, because we don't require people to disclose this. Oh, that's interesting. Because we're all somewhere on a spectrum between ability and disability. And are we limiting ourselves in a certain way, or calling people out and asking them to identify themselves or justify their validity for the role by saying, everyone who's neurodivergent, could you please put your hand up?
This must have been crazy talk.
And at the same time that this was happening, there were conversations coming up again out of New York around, for example, the one that comes to mind is this beautiful musical on Broadway that has an Asian creative team that's called Maybe Happy Ending, I think it's called. Okay. Where the original cast members were fully or half Asian, and then when an actor was replaced, they were replaced with a person who was white. And the huge hoopla went up. And then the conversation became, the play actually is not as much about there being Asian as it is about there being AI robots. And none of us identify as AI robots that we know of. Yeah. So it's been very, very interesting to try and tick all the boxes. So what we decided is we'd leave it very, very open for auditions and see who came. And from the day of auditions, I was really open with everyone who showed up and said, we're trying to be as sensitive as possible from the writing, through the casting, through the direction, through the marketing, every step of the way, that we are not trying to teach anyone or tell anyone things about autism or epilepsy. We are telling a story about a very specific character, and every quality about her has been based on lived experience on the part of the playwright. And I am encouraging everyone who has lived experience with any of these kinds of limitations to bring those into the room. I have a high incidence of autism in my family, and there were different mannerisms and things. Many of the people in the rehearsal room work with disabled students or have people in different levels of disability or cognitive decline or motor difficulties in their families. So from the very first moment, we were working, and Ellie Burke, who's playing Enid, was working very, very hard to make sure that this is a caring and loving portrait. But for me, the most important thing about Enid's character is the setting and the characters that she's in, because the Enid character is just cushioned in love in this play. It is discussed that outside the room that we're seeing, the world is cruel, and the world can be cruel. But the play demonstrates that you can choose to be kind.
Yeah, nice.
You can choose to be kind. Even in 1979, which was a time where there was misogyny also gets addressed.
Yeah.
Casual diminishment of women is addressed. And again throughout the play, we see people choosing to be better. They're not perfect people. They're very flawed. But we see them struggling and choosing and succeeding to be better.
We're not going to get through all my questions. I know we're not. Well, what did you see in Ellie? When you auditioned this, there must have been something about her that you said, okay, she can carry this off.
Yeah.
What was that?
Well, Ellie has an incredible physical energy, a vibrancy, and a vocal clarity that are just gorgeous. And I was not surprised to learn, looking at her bio, that in addition to being an actress, she is a voiceover artist and also is a teacher. And among other groups that she works with are non-native English speakers. She teaches children for whom English is a second or third language. And she also has actually written a children's book on that topic of immigrants learning English while also sharing their languages with the children around them. And she, as a teacher, as an educator, has a really organized mind and an incredible curiosity and a tremendous sensitivity, and was constantly in between rehearsals looping back to me with questions and always coming in with new things to try and ready to hear me say, let's pull this in here, let's try that there. And, you know, it was very easy to say to Ellie, Enid is so lovable, but we don't want to depict her as a perfect angel. That's another very painful and destructive stereotype from way back from, you know, from Uncle Tom's Cabin, of the disabled girl who's the angel child and who dies and goes to heaven and there's never anything wrong with her. That's not helpful. So it's been a beautiful, constructive dialogue, and we're open to hearing more. So far, having the first 4 performances behind us, we just keep hearing, my son is just like that. My niece is just like that.
So no pushback?
No pushback yet.
Interesting.
But,
Very
you know,
good,
we're here to
though.
dialogue.
Yeah,
Part of what any of these shows do is we start the dialogue. We continue dialogue, we hope.
Yeah.
So come and see it so you can be part of the dialogue.
No, everything I see out there is it does produce that dialogue.
Yeah.
When I leave the shows at the Players Ring, we go for a cup of coffee and we're talking about it.
Yeah.
Talking about what we've seen. Godot, same
Yes,
thing. Man Who
yes.
Left, same thing. I
Yes.
cannot leave there without it being in my head, and I almost have to get there. I'm working my mind through what I just saw.
Yeah.
That's the caliber. It's wonderful. Before we end, I want, why you? What did you see about why did you get involved with this one?
Well, it's interesting because as someone who works with playwrights, I begin just with as little ego as I can, saying, how can I help you make this play better? But what kept me engaged with Martha as a playwriting client, if you will, and then a dear friend, and then a champion of her script, and then a director, is she's just so funny.
Yeah.
And her characters are so real. And they're delightful for actors to play, and every single actor in this show nails it.
Leslie Pasternack, I love you. Give us the URLs again and dates.
playersring.org, and it's running March 12th through the 22nd.
Thank you so much.
Thank
You've
you.
been listening to NH Unscripted. I know you're smiling like I am out there. We love you, folks. We're coming in from the Gong Show like this, the WKXL studios in Concord. Yeah, no, I'm not the unknown comedian. 1450 AM, 103.9 FM on your Sunday Walkmans. 101.9 FM for the beautiful souls of Manchester. NHTalkRadio.com is our URL. Again, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 a.m. Now listen, get out there to the Players Ring. Leslie, thank you so much for coming by. We so much appreciate it.
Thank you.
See you on the next one.